Court. So apparently the YSL trial, this is actually good for Thug. The YSL trial has been officially paused. Okay? It's been officially paused. And I'll tell you why. So finally, one of the motion has been granted that they're going to look towards another judge. So it's going to be another judge that is going to have to rule on if this judge is going to be recused. Let me play it.
Oh, where's Mr. Weinstein? Okay, all right, okay.
Here we go. Okay, can we speed this up?
Else joined us since we last recessed, other than Mr. Uhelski, who I haven't seen so long. He's growing a mustache. Anybody else? Okay, all right.
Here we go.
All right, folks. As you all are made aware of, last week the court was going to do an in-camera review of the ex parte proceedings on June the 10th of 2024. In considering whether or not to have an in-camera discussion or review of the records, this court has decided to release the entirety of the transcript of those proceedings as courts want. And I'm going to take judicial notice of the following timeline. On Friday, June the 7th, 2024, Mr. Kenneth Copeland was granted immunity from prosecution pursuant to 24-5-507A, and that'll be marked as Courts 2. So the transcript will be Court 1. His immunity agreement, Mr. Copeland's, will be Court 2. Mr. Copeland, who was represented by Mr. Jonathan Melnick and advised of his rights and obligations, during the proceedings on Friday, June the 7th, which will be marked as Courts 3, the transcript of those proceedings, Mr. Copeland invoked his Fifth Amendment privilege and was held in contempt, and that will be Courts 4, Mr. Copeland's order of contempt. Mr. Melnick informed the court that he was not going to be in attendance of any further proceedings as he would be on leave effective 10 June of 2024. The court informed Mr. Melnick that his leave, or had discussions with him that his leave was not proper and that he needed to be in attendance on Monday, June the 10th of 2024 with Mr. Copeland. Mr. Melnick relayed that attorney Caleb Bumpus would be representing Mr. Copeland. On Monday, June the 10th, before court, Mr. Edward Chamberlain, the court's litigation manager, informed the court that the state wished to have an ex parte meeting with the court. No subject matter of the ex parte meeting was told. The entirety of the ex parte hearing held on the 10th of June of 2024 was taken down by Ms. Christina Weaver, the court's official court reporter. This ex parte hearing was held in chambers starting at 9:10 a.m. Present along with the court were Ms. Caleb Bumpus, attorney or ADA Ms. Adrian Love. Also present were the DA's investigators, Mr. Long and Mr. Hamilton. The ex parte hearing stood in recess from 9:34 to 10:03 a.m. to await Mr. Copeland's arrival. The ex parte hearing resumed with Mr. Copeland present at 10:03 a.m. Also present were attorney Bumpus, Ms. Hilton, the DA's investigators Long and Hamilton, the court and security personnel, deputies Houston, McPherson, Brown, Sergeant Brown, and Sergeant Hall. The ex parte hearing stood in recess to allow Mr. Copeland to have a private conversation with attorney Bumpus from 10:17 a.m. to 11:28 a.m. The ex parte hearing resumed at 11:28 a.m. The ex parte hearing concluded at 11:31 a.m. The court arrived in courtroom 1C at 11:49. The transcript of those proceedings, starting as of 11:49, or when the court presumed that held the proceedings on 10 June in courtroom 1C 2024, that will be marked as Courts 5. The proceeding in 1C commenced on the record at 11:52 a.m. A lunch recess was had at 12:51 p.m. The parties returned from lunch, and Mr. Steele informed the court that he had a motion, and that was at 1:46 p.m. In asking then Mr. Steele later that afternoon was held in contempt. However, he was allowed to continue representation of Mr. Williams. Then transitioning to the last matter the court wanted to put on record, Upon further review, this court will in fact enter an order sending Mr. Adams and Steele's, Mr. Weinstein, and Mr. Banks' motion to recuse to another judge pursuant to Uniform Superior Court Rules 25.1 through 25.7 in the method and manner prescribed by our local rules. So this written order is entered. I will enter the order transferring it, and until such time as that those two things are decided, then we'll be in recess until that time, and we will just inform our jurors that they're until this is. They're not supposed to come back on Monday until Monday anyway. So I will have Deputy Ingram and Mr. Mana indicate to them that they are still on recess and we're continuing to work. So that's all I have for you at this point in time. Okay.
Well,
Okay. All right. Yeah. So essentially, the case is now, or the trial is on recess until another judge decides if this guy should recuse himself from the case, which means he should be off of the case because of certain things. First of all, one of the biggest things that's happening is that they're claiming that this guy's a witness, right? So because of this ex parte meeting, they're saying that some of the conversation that wasn't, that shouldn't have been had, right, without the presence of a defense attorney, makes that they're now witness to this conversation, and a judge can't be a witness and also be an impartial judge. It just doesn't make sense. So he would have to, since potentially he and the prosecutor would be witnesses, he would have to recuse himself from the case. And also, they I don't know if they filed the motions to get the prosecutor as well, or that prosecutor off the case, but they've done it for the judge. Now, what does this mean? Is Young Thug coming home? I think this is a good step towards Young Thug getting a mistrial. Now, I keep telling y'all, and people keep saying, yo, you want Thug in jail. I don't want Thug in jail, but I'm sitting here trying to tell y'all, I will not in any way, shape, or form be the person that's going to give y'all false hope. That's what I did with the Tory Lanez trial, because we were believing that rappers just beat cases. That's just not the reality of it. This is a really tough case to beat. I'm giving you the harsh reality. Again, I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping Young Thug gets out next week, right? But it doesn't look like it. It's looking like they're doing many steps. Perhaps they get this judge out of here. They get a new judge. That new judge is probably more than likely going to then look at the situation and say, hey, I don't know if they could refile the motions for mistrial based on the ones that they filed with him and he denied. But if they filed those motions, given that this new judge, by the way, it's going to take a while to get a judge, and even then, if it's granted, even then, if that judge comes on and he has to review the whole case and whatever the case is, yeah, he might grant a retrial or a mistrial. Now, if there's a mistrial granted here, I'm telling y'all, you should still not expect to see Young Thug. Like, the state is not in the position to try to say that Young Thug should get out on any type of bail. We've seen they've held Young Boy for, if you ask me, lesser offenses without reasonable bail. I know he got house arrest, but they've held him on just a gun charge for over like 3 years, locked away, right? Now, I know you might say, well, he's not locked away if he's in Utah, but still, they're claiming that Young Thug is the head of a criminal organization that's gotten people murdered. They're not going to say, hey, go home to your mansion. We'll catch you later. Probably not likely. So if it does result in a mistrial, what's probably going to happen, they're going to have to do it over again, right? Again, for me, it just means years off of this guy's life. I just don't see him getting out before the next year. I don't see none of this being resolved. I do see him having some legal victories in terms of him possibly beating this, more likely on appeal than through this case or this current trial. But regardless, that's still not going to happen, in my estimation, for years to come. This is a major step, though, because it had seemed before, apparently, that this judge was kind of just ignoring and thumbing his nose at the defense attorneys, saying, yeah, y'all could raise y'all motions, but y'all doing it for an appeal, because this trial now is going, the train is already on the tracks. We're going to stop only once we get a verdict. They finally have gotten a stop, right? Like with the Donald Trump thing that was going to be prosecuted in Fulton County, it didn't even get started. And that's what I was talking about privilege. It didn't even get started. They argued about if that prosecutor was even fit or biased by the fact that she's fucking the guy who's a special prosecutor. You get what I'm saying? It didn't even get started yet. Basically, that case like just kind of fell apart. Like they could still kind of go forward with it, but it's going to be really difficult. So again, that was the difference with Donald Trump. That's privilege right there. Rather than in the middle of the case now, they're trying to figure out if this judge is biased. This judge has had months of doing things what he wanted to do that the defense attorneys called out, and he basically said, "Fuck y'all. Nah, it's my court, my rules, right?" And this is the first time they stopped it to say, should he be recused? So we'll see how that turns, that ends. Anyway, let me go ahead.
All right. For the security and timeline of events that occurred, the final by my official court reporter, Ms. Weaver, and all counsel will be, as I said, given an opportunity to, as soon as the court finishes entering this order, it will be e-filed, so everyone will have a chance to take a look at it and use it as they see fit. In this particular, and then the last part of 2.9 before the court goes on, if involves an pertinent part, if a judge inadvertently receives unauthorized ex parte communication bearing upon the substance of the matter, the judge shall make provision promptly to notify all parties of the substance of the communication, provide the parties with a reasonable opportunity to respond. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to release the entirety of the transcript to you all to use as you see fit, and before any other further examination of Mr. Copeland. I'll address the issue of the emergency nature of this particular hearing or this particular conference in front of the court. Is that this involves the state's concern as to what Mr. Copeland was in fact told by his counsel, Mr. Melnick, and his understanding of the immunity agreement pursuant to 24-5-507, and that the conversations that were had and the transcript will bear out that no tactical or other advantage or any testimony that was stated during that particular hearing would be anything other than the court and or the state communicating along with Ms. Bumpus, his lawyer, who's there.
Yeah, one thing about this case is so long, bro.
It's a First Circuit case, Second Circuit case, to coach the witness on how to answer questions about inducements from his testimony. The court had already.
So again, to simplify it, like the whole thing in question is that they feel like YSL Woody, and by the way, there was a false report going around that says YSL Woody died. YSL Woody is very alive and well and is very much cooperative. Trust me, he's chilling with a whole bunch of cheese. He's gonna be doing his thing, okay? What actually did happen though is that, which I don't know why people reported, but they reported that his affiliate, which like we barely know him, like why we give a fuck about his affiliate? No disrespect, because somebody was killed. But YSL Woody, his affiliate, some guy named Tay
in Southwest Atlanta, happened early this morning at an apartment complex. Channel 2's Brian Mims is live on Peyton Place. Brian, police say the shot was fired from outside of the apartment.
Exactly, and police say they don't have many details about what led up to the shooting, but there is a big police presence here at Peyton Place, just off Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. You can see the officers still on the scene after more than 3 hours. The call came around 3 this morning, and when officers showed up at an apartment at 9 Peyton Place, they found a man in his early 20s who had been shot to death. It's unclear if anybody else was inside that apartment, but police say there were no other injuries.
Deadly shooting in Southwest.
So Woody's alive, but apparently his affiliate was shot. We have no idea, and it would be very incorrect to speculate that his affiliate got killed because he's testifying against Young Thug. So I think it's just unrelated. Again, all these niggas are in the streets. Them getting killed or going to jail shouldn't be that surprising. That's what happens when you're in the streets, right? Like, come on, let's be very clear, right? Hey, yo.